How's it going, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to my channel, The Cosmic Wonder, where we talk about all things Marvel and everything relating to the MCU. Today we have some really exciting and very interesting news about one of the Marvel shows coming to Disney+, Marvel Studios' What If. Marvel Studios' What If is definitely going to be one of the more interesting shows coming to Disney+. And really, it's because the whole point of the show is to change our idea and perspective of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it. Now, obviously, it won't be for good or have any main effect on the actual Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline, but it'll explore what the universe could have been if one simple act was changed somewhere along the timeline. And today we have 2 and quite possibly 3 plot details for 3 episodes of Marvel Studios' What If coming to Disney+. There aren't really any spoilers here, but we are going to talk about the scenarios that they are going to change. For example, one episode could talk about what if Tony Stark never snapped, but Steve Rogers actually snapped? What would happen? So we'll go over 2 confirmed scenarios and another scenario that is basically confirmed, just not official yet. But first, if you're new, be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date on all things relating to the MCU and so you can enter my giveaway. This week we're giving away a Captain America Avengers Endgame Funko Pop. All you have to do to enter is be subscribed, like the video, and leave a comment about the video down below. A winner will be announced on Monday. So the first episode scenario of Marvel Studios' What If that we're going to talk about isn't exactly the first episode, but is an episode that is believed to be coming and there is a lot of proof behind it. And the scenario is actually quite interesting, and the scenario is what if Peter Parker, Spider-Man, became Hawkeye? Now this is pretty much confirmed, and the reason that I say that is because an old video has resurfaced online from San Diego Comic-Con from Variety. Now Variety, of course, was at San Diego Comic-Con, and Variety's Matt Donnelly was actually attending the Hall H panel for Marvel at SDCC. And after the panel, they interviewed him and asked him what he saw, and he said that he saw Spider-Man as Hawkeye.
All of the heroes you know and love sort of recast in different roles. I know it's sort of hard to imagine, but they showed images of Tom Holland as Hawkeye. They showed Peggy Haley Atwell as Captain America.
So as you just heard, he saw an actual photo of Peter Parker as Hawkeye. And not just one photo, but multiple photos. He says, I know it's sort of hard to imagine, but they showed images of Tom Holland as Hawkeye. Now the reason I say this is not 100% confirmed to be an episode is because we haven't seen this yet. We have gotten a little teaser of what the Marvel What If series is going to be, and we have even seen some leaked photos as well, which we'll talk about in a bit, but out of all of these things that we've seen from this new animated series come into Disney+, we have not seen Peter Parker as Hawkeye. So this could have simply just been concept art used at SDCC just to show the fans what they're going to see with Marvel's What If. Or since there were multiple images shown, it could be an episode of What If. Now, this certainly would be a very interesting episode because this would really affect the MCU. For starters, we wouldn't have a Spider-Man, but maybe he still has some of his supernatural abilities. Maybe he just doesn't build his web slingers. Either way, he would go on to become Hawkeye, and he would be a very different character in the MCU. As the episode would no doubt go on to explore, we would probably find that Peter Parker would not have nearly the same relationship with Tony Stark that he did as Spider-Man. The whole reason that Tony Stark found Peter Parker was because he saw some leaked videos of Spider-Man online. Well, without those leaked videos, there's no Spider-Man, therefore Tony Stark cannot find Peter Parker, at least not that way. He'd have to find him some other way, and perhaps it's even Hawkeye, Clint Barton himself, that finds him. He could find him, train him, and then give him the mantle of Hawkeye when he's on house arrest and he really quits the Avengers after Civil War. Perhaps Nick Fury locates somebody with special abilities and sends Hawkeye to go get him. Now, as you can see, this one simple change would drastically change the events of the MCU. Again, we wouldn't have Spider-Man, but Peter Parker was a very big driving force to Tony Stark in Avengers Endgame. In fact, it was the photo of Peter Parker that really convinced Tony to explore time travel and give it a go. And then, of course, if we didn't have a relationship with Peter Parker and Tony Stark, we wouldn't have that final scene with Tony Stark and Peter Parker right before he dies, which of course choked everybody up. So this will certainly be an interesting episode, and it seems like Marvel Studios is pretty fond of the character swap idea. As I mentioned, there are 3 other episodes that are absolutely confirmed to be coming to Marvel's What If. And one of them is going to be about what if Peggy Carter Carter took the super soldier serum and not Steve Rogers. Now, we actually have more photos about this specific episode than we have of any other photos thanks to Disney Plus, and the implications of this change actually really affect what could have happened. Thanks to these photos, we know that Peggy Carter goes through the same procedure that Steve Rogers went through. She gets the super soldier serum and she becomes a super soldier. But she's not from America, so she doesn't go on to become Captain America. Instead, it's a Captain Britain. And no, not the same Captain Britain from the comics, but a female version of Captain America that is Captain Britain. So she gets the serum, becomes a female version of Captain America, and she is definitely a super soldier, as we have seen footage of her basically flipping a car over with her shield. Now, this scenario is awesome as it is, but what else happens is truly awesome as well. In this scenario, Steve Rogers never gets the serum, so one would think that he wouldn't be allowed to join the army because he wasn't allowed to before. However, according to this What If episode, there was different value found in Steve Rogers, and he sort of becomes a new in the first Iron Man. We find out that if Steve Rogers was never given the super soldier serum and never became Captain America, he would still join the army, and Howard Stark, the father of Tony Stark, would end up creating an Iron Man-like type of suit for him, and Steve Rogers would be the first person to operate this new Iron Man tech. And as you can see here, he would still have a relationship with Peggy Carter. After all, it was Peggy in the beginning who was rooting for Steve Rogers. But in these photos, we can see him pop out of the Iron Man armor, and we even see him taking off into the sky with Peggy Carter on his back. And you can see them flying through the air together in this photo as well. So as you can see, even if Steve Rogers never became Captain America, never got the super soldier serum, he would still be a great soldier who would want to serve his country. And he would do so and essentially go on to become the first Iron Man. And it looks like he would still end up with Peggy Carter as well. Certainly an interesting scenario to think about, and something that I definitely look forward to seeing on Marvel's What If. And then in another episode with another character swap, we have What If T'Challa was Star-Lord. Now, not much is really known about this episode, and it is kind of hard to guess, but in these photos that we have, we do see T'Challa as Star-Lord. He has the same suit, the same mask, and in this scene that we have here, he's still retrieving the orb which contains the Power Stone. So what probably happens here is that Yondu and Kraglin, instead of going and picking up Peter Quill, they actually go to Wakanda and they end up picking up T'Challa. Now, this would actually drastically alter the MCU in many different ways. The obvious one would be that eventually Wakanda would not have a king. T'Chaka would still most likely go on to be killed during the United Nations meeting. However, his son would not be there, and he doesn't have another son. This means that either M'Baku or Killmonger would eventually come and become king of Wakanda. Now, if this did happen, that means there is no Black Panther in Civil War, and if there is no Black Panther in Civil War, that means that Bucky would never go to Wakanda. And when Bucky was in Wakanda, they wiped away his brainwashing. They made it to where he can't be turned back into the Winter Soldier. So if T'Challa became Star-Lord, the Winter Soldier would still be lurking inside of him. It could be reactivated. And if there was no Black Panther in Civil War, then the Avengers could not use Wakanda in Infinity War. Not to mention they wouldn't have the huge Wakandan army in Avengers Endgame. It would be very, very different if T'Challa was Star-Lord. And last but not least, something that I'm really looking forward to that is confirmed is a Marvel What If Zombies episode. Now, this one is going to be truly interesting because what we have here so far, photos and footage, are of Bucky fighting a zombie Captain America. We can see the art of Captain as a zombie here, and we can also see his shield, and it's covered in blood. Now, it's really hard to tell how this exact scenario with Captain America becoming a zombie would come to be in the MCU. Because remember, this is all based off of little things that have already happened in the MCU. Now, Marvel did do a Marvel Zombies comic back in 2005. It was a limited 5-issue series. Now, the series was set in a different universe. It wasn't set in the main universe, but what ends up happening in the story is that an alien comes to Earth and ends up affecting some of the Avengers, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four, and basically all of the superheroes that exist in this universe. And just like any zombie movie that you've ever seen, they get infected by blood, so bites, cuts, etc. So this could be the story that Marvel What If is going to explore, but they would have to figure out a way to work this into the main universe. Perhaps one of the Infinity Stones could have turned Captain into a zombie, or perhaps even the Tesseract. but that's just something that we're going to have to wait to find out when Marvel What If comes to Disney+. And the good news is we've just heard that season 1 is basically complete. Since it's an animated show, most of the work had been able to continue during COVID-19. Most of the work could be done from home, so season 1 is almost wrapped up. So we should be hearing a lot more information very soon. So let me know how excited you are about Marvel Studios' What If, and out of all these scenarios that we talked about today, which one are you most excited for? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can stay up to date on everything relating to the MCU. For live updates, you can follow me on Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.